U.S. East Coast, and we've got this nor'easter set to move its way into Atlantic Canada later on today. So we'll talk first just about the snow totals you can expect in the region. Then we'll get into the details a little bit later in your weather forecast. I've added in the plot for Nova Scotia in terms of how much snow we're expecting because this event is happening today. This is pretty well certain in the region. Down into southern Nova Scotia, we're likely to see perhaps 10 to 15 centimeters for the south coast. Halifax, you're more in that 20 centimeter range, but up toward Cape Breton, these isolated areas of purple you see on the map here could push the snowfall totals closer to around 30 centimeters. Now for Newfoundland, as this event is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, there's still going to be some fluctuation of these snowfall totals, but areas of the Avalon Peninsula in particular, farther north, so including St. John's, could be in the higher end of snowfall totals. Generally, we're talking 30 to 50 centimeters of snow, this taking us through Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Now, before we get there, for communities in Ontario, right around North Bay this morning, there is snow actively falling. We've got about 10 centimeters of snow on deck through the North Bay and Sudbury region, and this has prompted a weather advisory from Atlantic Canada. This is a small little skiff of snow that's going to slide its way to the southeast through today, so you could be into snow if you are in the Cobourg area, heading towards Belleville, Kingston, up toward Ottawa, Montreal. That sometime later on this afternoon. This will be enough. The winter driving conditions are in full effect, but probably not enough to warrant like a snowfall warning, for example. You might get a weather advisory or a special weather statement just saying, hey, give yourself some extra time out there. Overnight, the wind picks up. We could get into a few lake effect streamers coming off like Huron and Georgian Bay, but then generally the sky clears out in the south. The north will see mainly cloudy conditions through Wednesday and a chance of flurries right around Superior. But outside of that, it stays pretty quiet. That all changes Thursday. Midday Thursday, snow moves its way in and tracks its way across the lower Great Lakes. And this could be in that 3 to 7 centimeter range of snow for many communities. That's round number one. Round number two will likely arrive sometime Friday night into Saturday morning. And this one will slide its way right over to Atlantic Canada into the weekend. So that's set for Saturday. Before we get there, we are going to see that nor'easter move its way in. It's not there just yet, but its arrival is imminent within the next 6 hours or so. So we do have winter storm warnings in place in the royal blue. The pale blue is a winter storm watch. This is indicative of about 15 to 25 centimeters of snow, perhaps a little bit more for Cape Breton in Nova Scotia. Winds near 80 kilometers an hour. It moves in around the lunch hour for the south coast and spreads its way northward. By the time the sun has set, that Atlantic coast is into the heaviest snow. Overnight, it will move its way out of the Halifax area sometime around midnight and arrive in Newfoundland. Now, Cape Breton and Newfoundland really stay in the snow the longest through Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. In behind that, by Wednesday night, we start to see snow in PEI, parts of New Brunswick, due to the winds picking up, and that's ocean enhancement adding you into the snowfall event. Now, coming up, we will talk about the snow that's falling in Western Canada and what you can expect there. For now, we'll take you to Campbell's Creek, Newfoundland and Labrador. Connie, its way up the U.S. East Coast and moving right into Atlantic Canada, and it will have a trickle-down effect, kind of that domino effect for travel today. Now, in terms of those temperatures, it is cold to start. It's not surprising for the time of day. It is above seasonal this morning for Toronto, -4 currently, -6 in Ottawa, -5 in Montreal. We've got below freezing temperatures, Fredericton. It is a colder start to the day today than it was yesterday, -10 in Thunder Bay. Not much in the way of notable wind chills in southern Canada today, even farther north, Labrador City. You're feeling into the -20s this morning at Callowheat as well. Later on today, we'll see plus side temperatures for Toronto, 4 degrees. That's above average. 2 in Ottawa, 1 in Montreal, and 1 in Halifax, which means that the snow heading up to Atlantic Canada is going to be a heavy, wet snow. There it is now, this nor'easter moving its way up to the northeast and those winds coming in from the northeast. You've got the snow this morning sitting through the New York area. Rain, snow mix down towards Baltimore. Looks like Boston is seeing more snow than anything, though rain mixing along the coastline. Nothing yet in Atlantic Canada, but that first kind of outer band of cloud moving its way into the south. So widespread winter storm warnings today. They now are isolated along the Atlantic coast of Nova Scotia. You still have some areas of Cape Breton that are under watches. Western edges of Newfoundland are under winter storm watches, though communities farther east are under the warning. Remember the difference between a watch and a warning. Watch means all the ingredients are there, but it's not happening yet, but it's very possible it will. Warning means it's either happening right now or it's imminent. Now, we will see that active weather moving its way northward as the day goes on. By lunchtime, we really start to see the first bit of precipitation. So you've got the morning that's drier. But by lunchtime, that snow moves into the south coast and it will spread its way northward as the day progresses. By the time the sun has set, the snow is coming down quite steadily along the Atlantic coast of Nova Scotia up toward Cape Breton. Overnight tonight, this moves its way into the south coast of Newfoundland. Snowfall totals, the bullseye really will be along the Atlantic coast of Nova Scotia and up towards areas of Newfoundland, generally 15 to 25 centimeters of snow, but some isolated areas of eastern Nova Scotia, mainland areas, and up towards Cape Breton, picking up closer to 30 centimeters. Then, as we go Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, this will move up towards Newfoundland. And I'm not going to give you totals just yet, because as we're more than 48 hours from end of event, these will fluctuate. But what we generally are forecasting is that areas along the northern Avalon Peninsula and further west will see the highest amounts. Totals there will range 30 to 50 centimeters. St. John's, you could be on the higher end there, seeing perhaps about 50 centimeters of snow over the coming days. That'll be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Now, the snow will push in around lunchtime today for the south coast. It'll arrive in Halifax area kind of mid-afternoon or so, right as typically those schools would be heading home, hence why there's been some adjustments to the end of the school day today. Overnight, the snow will continue, departing the Halifax area sometime after midnight. That's when it will push into Newfoundland as well, moving up from the south to the north. Now, St. John's, once you're in the snow, you pretty well stay in it for the next 3 days, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. By Wednesday night, the winds really kick up in behind, and so we could see some ocean enhancement happening for areas of PEI toward New Brunswick as well. That's when you'll enter into this weather event. Areas of Cape Breton will stay in the snow longer in Nova Scotia than elsewhere in the region. Now, by Friday, for the most part, this is just sitting over Newfoundland. We'll get a break in the active weather for our Maritimes, but the cloud will build, and then we're back into another storm system by Friday night, Saturday. Now, that's going to come in from Ontario and Quebec. Before we get there, we've got a little bit of snow happening in central Ontario this morning that has prompted a weather advisory. That slips its way southward as the day goes on. So Ottawa and Montreal, be prepared for a blast of snow timed for that evening drive home. Pretty quiet Wednesday, but by the time we hit Thursday, we get into rain and snow across much of south and central Ontario into southern Quebec as we head into Thursday night. That doesn't quite make its way to the Maritime provinces. The round of snow that'll move through Friday and Saturday in Ontario and Quebec, that's what's heading for the Maritimes. This one will be a snow-rain mix, snow in New Brunswick, parts of PEI, and rain for Nova Scotia. That's ahead. So lots to plan for. For now, we'll send it back over to Anne-Marie.
Hey, Kels, thanks so much. And that quick but intense nor'easter Kels was just describing is...
Morning, you're not the only spot. It extends right along the Atlantic coast of Nova Scotia up through Cape Breton and to the Avalon Peninsula in Newfoundland for communities further west as well. The paler blue is a winter storm watch, indicating all the ingredients are there for winter storm conditions to be in full effect later on. So part of this is snow. That's the first half. Generally, we'll see totals between 15 to 25 centimeters for Nova Scotia. Those highest amounts are going to be along the Atlantic coastline and east of Halifax, heading up through Cape Breton. We could see isolated areas approaching 30 centimeters. Now, that's falling today. By tonight, this moves up to Newfoundland and continues through Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So there we'll see the snowfall totals elevated, 30 to 50 centimeters of snow expected for Newfoundland. I've taken off the plot because snowfall totals more than 48 hours out generally evolve. So the bullseye for you is likely to be northern sections of the Avalon Peninsula, but this is subject to change and evolve a little bit as the storm moves its way northward. Nor'easters are typical in their notorious ability to be misforecast. They're difficult to forecast because they pull so much moisture from the Atlantic in addition to bringing that lower pressure to the region. Now, in terms of snowfall, by lunchtime, we start to see it approach that south coast. Halifax, early afternoon, you're into the snow. It continues until the sun sets and doesn't depart the region until after midnight. Cape Breton, you stay in the snow until tomorrow morning as this is moving its way up towards Newfoundland as well. Newfoundland, once it starts snowing, in particular for the Avalon, it will continue quite heavily. We're talking snowfall rates, perhaps up to 5 centimeters per hour. All of this is in combination with winds gusting up to 80 kilometers an hour. Now, through Wednesday, parts of PEI and New Brunswick start to enter into the snow, and this is due to the elevated elevation of the winds that will drive ocean enhancement. Snow will continue in Newfoundland right through Thursday and then even into Friday as well. While Friday starts off quite sunny for our maritime provinces, cloud will build its way in, and we've got another round of snow and rain set to dominate the weekend forecast. Now, we also have snow falling in parts of Alberta this morning. There are snowfall warnings for the foothills, and this is where we could see 10 to 20 centimeters of snow. It's been quite steady through the evening and will continue through this early morning hour. We also have snow from Saskatoon down through Regina and down towards Weyburn and Estevan, and that's going to track its way eastward through Winnipeg later on today. By overnight tonight, it's into northwest Ontario. Meanwhile, the west coast getting a bit of a break from active weather, but there is some moving up through the Pacific Northwest. It's possible some of this could move its way up towards southern sections of Vancouver Island, including Victoria, as we head into Wednesday evening. Coming up here on the show in our next half hour, mismanagement and